Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillah wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala amma ba'd. MashaAllah, hayakumullah, thank you all for coming. This shows a primary concern and it shows a need. I was approached at Valley Ranch Masjid about a month and a half ago by a father that was curious and wondering on how we can facilitate for the youth in the middle school. And primarily his son was in high school, the two sons were in high school, in regards to the daylight savings. So around this time frame when the kids are in school and the Asr comes in, how do they facilitate for Jummah? And then when voicing this concern with other parents, there were actually some other questions arise as far as, particularly pertaining to prayers, Salatul Dhuhr, and even dare we say Salatul Asr when it comes to school. And then when presenting this to other individuals that, mashallah, have been in the community for over 20 years, they voiced that they had some history in this regard. So I said, you know what, subhanAllah, let's gather the parents together, because there are many parents that have children that are in high school and they go to the public school system, and they have this concern, they have questions, they may have some comments and something that they want to bring forth. And what better way to do it than have all the parents come together, firstly for networking purposes, to see familiar faces that you've probably seen in the masajid for years, and then secondly, to voice a concern that you may have, a disagreement that you may have. It's kind of like a town hall meeting, but lowercase letters, okay? So primarily the goal of this is for you to be informed, educated, and also for you to voice whatever concerns you may have. And also with the MSA group that we have here, mashallah, they've been very active. I think as you saw on the flyer, it was a question of what is missed, what is MSA, and what are the rights, for lack of better words, rights for you as a parent and the students within the school system. So I don't want to go too far and belabor the moment. Just to introduce myself briefly, my name is Abdullah Oduro. I'm the imam here at the Islamic Center of Coppell. I've been the imam for roughly around 3 years now. We were across the street in the first of Ramadan, alhamdulillah, of 2019. We moved here, alhamdulillah. And we have Jum'ah during the time, after March all the way till, October, we have a second Jummah here for the youth, and mashallah, it gets very packed. Sometimes it gets more packed than the regular Jummahs. And that's been a huge facilitation for the parents. Right when they pick their kids up from school, they come here, they perform Jummah, and they get a good message, and they're able to proceed on home, inshallah. The individuals standing in back of me, mashallah, they've been very active in this masjid, along with some other people hiding out there. We have someone on the right side. Where's the Ideal? Somewhere? There he is. Great, mashallah. This is the MSA. How many of you are familiar with MSA? Not the youth, the parents. Well, the parents are youth, I'm sorry. Excuse me. Yes, how many of you are familiar with MSA? Raise your hands again. So this is going to be very useful. Good. I'm glad to see the majority of the hands were not raised. Good. It stands for, I'm going to let them explain it. But they've been very active in the school system, and mashallah, they've taken it upon themselves. May Allah reward them initially, and then reward the parents for supporting them in their efforts. They're going to give a brief explanation of what MSA is and some of their efforts and what they plan to see. Jazakumullah khairan. Bismillah ar-Rahman
ar-Rahim. Okay. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. And now we'll be starting our explanation of what MSA is. Just hold on.
Technical difficulties.
Okay, sorry about that. Okay, now resuming the presentation. So first, let me introduce some of the members of MSA. There are our co-presidents. I am one of them, Anid, and this is Amsa. And then we have our treasurer and secretary. Treasurer is Adil, right here. Our secretary and Miss Registrar are actually not here today, but they're very important to us, Rayad and Nawal. And also our Miss team, Hidayah and Nuran, standing over there. And yeah, that is what makes up the MSA. So what exactly is the MSA? We're based in Coppell High School, a club in Coppell High School, and we're called the Coppell Muslim Student Association. Basically, we gather all of our Muslim students and also non-Muslim students. We also welcome them too. We talk to them and we try to involve them with community activities and school activities. We talk to them about Islam right now, what's happening, how to deal with it, all these types of things, and also involving them into community work and also working on MIST, which we'll talk to you about later. And this is MIST.
Assalamu alaikum. So a lot of you might be wondering what MIST is just because we've advertised it a lot. So MIST stands for Muslim Interscholastic Tournament. It's an annual tournament every year. It's targeted for high school students, but 8th graders do have the opportunity to come. For us, for MIST Dallas in specific, 8th graders have to send just a small letter, usually just about a paragraph, explaining why they want to come to MIST, and they can be, be on the team. So the tournament has multiple different competitions. They range from academics, arts, sports, and multiple other categories.
So when and where is MIST? This year it will be from April 10th to April 12th, and it will be in UT Dallas again, like it was last year, and that's where it's been for multiple years. So if your child does attend, he'll be going there for 3 consecutive days. And like Amsa was saying, there's different types of competitions at MIST. There's Quran and knowledge, there's arts, then there's writing and oratory, bracket competitions, group projects, and also sports. And the thing is, with MIST, you can only compete in one from each category, but you can compete in all of those categories. So basically, you can compete in 6 categories and still participate in MIST. And this is the theme for this year: trusting the process, contentment through adversity. So the thing with MIST, you would have to incorporate this theme into all the work that you would do, maybe minus the sports, but yeah. Oh. And yeah, thank you. Jazakallah.
Okay, does anyone, before I open the floor for some brief questions. Firstly, you mentioned that you have a sheet here, and that sheet is for what exactly is the sheet for?
So that sheet is just for networking. So we're going to collect your information if you're willing to give it to us, and then from that way we can contact you guys if we have any thing that we're doing, and that'll also give us the information to add you to the school WhatsApp, which connects all the parents of CHS. I think she'll explain a little bit more.
So, Assalamu alaikum. My name is Nuran, and I'm the MIST. I'm one of the MIST organizers. So the thing about MIST is that it's a high school competition, but there's a lot of money that the MIST team needs. Our school team needs to go to MIST, and so we're hoping for donations. If you can spare few dollars, and so I'm carrying a clipboard, Adil is carrying a sheet of paper with pens, and so if you're willing to donate money, you can just come up and talk to us, and that's, does anybody have anything more to say?
Yeah, so just a few of the things that we're looking to sponsor. So basically, registration fees for the MIST competition itself is $45 per person. Now, usually we expect everyone to pay for that themselves, and that's what we're planning on doing this year. But on top of that, there's a lot of other expenses that we have as a team to go. So we have stuff like T-shirts, transportation. We're trying to organize a bus from the high school to the actual competition. So, especially on Friday, because that day is really hectic, because usually kids attend school and then leave early to go attend the competition. Additionally, we have stuff like uniforms, hijabs, and ties that are matching in color in order to build spirit. We also have sports uniforms and sports teams that will go towards our sports teams and helping them represent Coppell. So all that stuff like that, if you're willing to sponsor any one of those items, or if you're willing to sponsor any amount, including cash. We can collect that today, or you can just give us your contact information. We can put you on we can, yeah, we can put you on the T-shirt. We can sponsor your brand. That'll help. And so we have about 50 participants that'll be wearing these T-shirts throughout the year, and people still wear their last year T-shirt to this day. So it's a really great opportunity to get your business involved in the community, or as you as a person can get involved.
Okay, and the last thing, just to show you guys a little bit more about MIST, we'll be showing you like the recap video from, I believe, last year or 2018. Okay, well, that'll be playing shortly. So hopefully after seeing this, you'll get a little bit of an idea of what MIST is like. Last year was, alhamdulillah, very nice. We had an actual team for the first time, and we were the biggest team, yeah, public school team. And we're hoping this year we'll break that record even more. So, yeah.
Will.
Inshallah. Oh, okay. Wait. Okay. Okay, so that was the MIST recap video from 2018. It kind of undershoots how like nice it was and how exciting it was, but yeah, that's basically what happened. There was lots of communication and networking and meeting new people, having fun with your friends, and hopefully this year it'll be even more fun with everybody else, such a larger team. And yeah, that was the MIST recap. And one more thing, at MSA, at our school, sometimes we have guest speakers. So if your child wants to come, we will have guest speakers just like Sheikh Uduro, and he will talk to us about multiple topics. kind of like a halakha. And yeah, once you join, you will be able to just have your kid experience that. And most of the time, we'll have them month to month. And if you're interested in talking to students at MSA, there will also be a sign up for that. So, and that's it. Jazakallah.
I have one more thing about MIST that we didn't say, but MIST is chaperoned. We do have chaperones that come with us, so if you're worried about that, we will have adults for the girls and the guys. So.
Any questions?
Yeah, what is your budget? How much?
Yeah, so he was asking how much is our budget. So looking specifically, we're actually looking here. I can pull up the total right now, but there's a few other items that we don't know. Yeah, so right now we're looking at about $3,800, and then on top of that we still have the bus and sports coaches, and then there's probably a few other items that are going to come up. So we're looking at about $4,200, and that's in. Mhm. Now that does include the registration fees, which is $45 per competitor. So once we get that from every student, it'll go down. But right now, we're on top of that. We're looking, including some of the sponsorship money that we have, we're looking at about $72 per person that'll have to attend. So we're looking to get that down so more people can participate.
Is there a deadline?
Yeah, if you guys want to come to me, I can show you that as well.
As far as cooperation from the school, right now we don't get as much. We have a wonderful principal now that we have ties to, and she's much more open to our needs. So hopefully, when Miss comes around, we'll get much more help from her. But as of now, we don't really need much except for a room to do our MSA meetings, and that's what she's given us. So he said how many members we have. Alhamdulillah, we have around from 35 to 45 consistently each meeting. Oh yeah, and that's not including most of the 8th and 9th graders because we are on the Coppell High School ground. So, any more questions?
The question was if you have an 8th or a 9th grader who wants to join the MIST team, what's the process for that? And as well as I believe you said, is there a national competition for MIST? Okay, so for the 8th and 9th graders, if you would like to join or you would have a child that would like to join or is interested, you can go ahead and talk to Nuran right now. Usually we just have a sign-up form, but they can get more information from her and stuff for competitions. And in regards to the competition, so Miss Dallas is just a regional competition, but in almost all of the competitions, if you place 3rd, you qualify for nationals, and nationals is held in a different place every year. So last year was held in Baltimore. Yeah, the year before it was in New York. Okay, so this year I guess it's gonna be in Baltimore again. We have chaperones for that too, just if anyone's wondering. But yes, so this one is regional, but there are some competitions that don't qualify for nationals because they don't host them in the nationals area, because some competitions are strictly just held in regionals, just as tester competitions. But yes, there is a nationals. So. Although we could have, some of us could have. I would just like to say, a lot of us placed this year, or last year, but this year we're hoping to take a lot more spots for 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. So yeah. Any more questions?
Okay. Oh. Well, we can just. Yeah. Okay. So there are 6 categories for MIST. The idea is that so that they can hold as many competitions as possible at one time. Each category is held at the same time. So there's the first category, which is Quran and knowledge. It's literally just Quran. There's 4 levels, and then there's knowledge tests, kind of like an Islamic studies quiz, I guess. There's also 4 levels for that. And then there's the arts category. We have graphic design, fashion design, photography, 2D art, 3D art, and then and culinary arts, which is you bake a cupcake and decorate it. And then there's also writing and oratory. There's prepared essay, which you write an essay. There's poetry. There's short fiction. You write a story. There's also this essay that you write on the spot. And there's also a speech that you have to make up on the spot as you go. Fourth category. Oh, and then there's bracket competition. These are more like tournaments. Tournaments are there's improv, which is like acting in a way. It's gender segregated, so that is someone. Okay. They're gender segregated so that the women can like act and like can go like as far as they want to. There's debate. There's Mist Bowl, which is you answer questions about Mist, and there's like other types of competitions. And then the last one is group projects. There's you can make a short film or a science fair, or you can plan a business, things like that. And then there's sports, which is basketball and soccer.
Just to add on to that, so there are like multiple categories, like she said, that you can compete in. But if you want more information about each individual competition, because I know that's like a lot to handle all at once, you can go to missdallas.com, and you just go. Yeah, you can just go. There's a competitions tab right on top. It's really easy to find, and it'll list all the competitions. You can go into each individual competition and see what you do. And a lot of the competitions are segregated, like she said. So.
With the competitions, you can also find a rule book for all the competitions so that you can view the rules and see exactly what you're doing. More questions? Yes?
So Mist, we do have, we're trying to get buses this year for Mist because we didn't have a bus to take that Friday, because Mist is a Friday, Saturday, and a Sunday. So we didn't have a bus, so we're going to try to figure that out. But in terms of transportation, especially on Saturday and Sunday, last year that was a big issue. It was really hard for us to get all together all at once on time. So transportation, if you... Transportation, if you are available, we would be greatly appreciative if you could help us out with that so that we could all get there and, have a great time.
Also, for some of the team and group projects and also sports, we would like some coaches. So if you're okay with coaching a team, then we're also open to that if you're interested.
So for all of these things that are more specific to each competition and we're looking for individual people to help out, we'll definitely ask a little bit more when it gets closer to that time. But inshallah, if you are looking to help out in any way, make sure you're on that WhatsApp and we'll make sure to get that information to you.
Jazakallah khair. If you have any other questions, you can ask them individually. As I mentioned, they will be on either side for their sign-up sheets. And also, please don't forget, we sent the link on the ICC group, so if you know any individuals that were not able to come, please share that link, inshallah, because this will be live. It's live now, inshallah. Okay. Anything else you wanted to mention? Okay. Jazakumullah khair. May Allah reward you. Yes, please. Jazakumullah khair. Okay, moving on to our next session, mashallah. It's not even lightened. It should be good. It's good. Okay, bismillah wa salatu wa salam ala rasulullah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi man wala amma ba'd. That was the first session, mashallah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward the parents and the youth, primarily the MSA, past, present, and future. Coming up, inshallah. I should be saying, yeah, you should be doing this. Why are you looking at me like that, man? No, alhamdulillah, may Allah reward them for stepping up to the plate and being active and being consistent. I think that's very, very important to leave a legacy within the public sector. Many times, we're in the masjid right now, but I mean, subhanAllah, the public school system is very tough. And for them to stand up and to do something like that, I think it's very, very commendable. I think we should just give a round of applause for them right now, inshallah. Mashallah. It's excellent. It's excellent. And there's trial and error throughout this process. You're going to face people that are not up to it. I'm almost sure there's students that are like, what are y'all doing? That happens. But just being consistent, being strong, and having a vision in mind and being disciplined within that, I think that's most important. So I highly implore all of you youth, to get involved in the MISS program. I mean, it's phenomenal. I mean, I went there, mashallah, and it was traffic everywhere, mashallah, and those of you that know. We're moving on to the next section, and that is just an awareness of what goes on in the school system and what we as Muslim parents have, the knowledge we need to have of what goes on and what our youth are able to do and what we as parents are able to do within the school system. Many of us don't know the privileges that we have, not we as Muslims, but we as parents that have children in the public school sector. And I think it's very, very important because sometimes we may have some notions and some assumptions that may hinder our and our children's progress, not even academically, but socially, from issues of integrity, from issues of awareness and what they are, who they are and what they represent. Mashallah, to my left, mashallah, many of you know Sister Huma. The nickname I give her is 220 volts, mashallah, because she's very, very active with the youth at the MISS competition. She's all over the place, mashallah, making things happen, texting everyone day in and day out. Very, very active and concerned. And I really want all of you to see her, especially the sisters, to know who to speak to when you're in Valley Ranch Islamic Center, when you're in Coppell, when you're in Kroger, that you can reach out to her because she's very active and that's what she's primarily about, mashallah. And it's very commendable. She's going to give some information in regards to experiences that she's had and certain rights that you may have as a parent and how to get your child involved and engaged and how you can get engaged as a parent. And to my right, I have Brother Muhammad Al-Mughi, or Sheikh Uncle Muhammad Al-Mughi, mashallah, mentor. He's been in this community for over 25 years, and he is going to share with us some of his experiences that he had with his children that are currently graduated from college, master's programs, and when they were in elementary school down the street, and some of the things that he's experienced, and some things that we need to keep in mind, we as Coppellians or people in Valley Ranch or in Louisville, in regards to this subject matter. I don't want to take too much of this time, so what we will do, we will start with Brother Muhammad Al-Mughi, and he will give us a small form of advice, inshallah.
I'm going to wear this so I don't have to. Is this clear? Assalamu alaikum. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah, I don't have any overhead, so I feel good when I see the young crowd struggling with technology, so I don't feel that bad after all. I have actually been in Coppell for about 27 years. Came in here in '93. Give you a little bit of background. Like many of you, I'm an immigrant. I'm Egyptian by birth. I came here in 1982 on a Fulbright scholarship for my master's degree at Santa Fe, New Mexico, St. John's College. Also, like many of you, my plan was to go back home to Egypt, to my birthplace. But, for whatever reasons, Allah wills, I fell in love with this country and I said, this is a good place to raise a child, children. And I decided to make this home. My father actually moved here with me, and he passed away in 2002, so he is buried here. And he used to always say, home is where you are going to be buried, not where you were born. So, like it or not, this became home. First lesson I learned, and I'm going to tell you that I'm not here to tell you what you need to do. I'm simply giving you my experience. And of course, each one is different. Everyone deals with issues differently. So please don't feel like I'm here to tell you or to lecture you what you need to be doing. But I can tell you the first thing I learned in this country, the first week I was here, since I was on a scholarship, I remember going to the Graduate Institute and asked for a couple of questions. There was a secretary there, without mentioning names. And every time I asked her for a simple thing, the answer was no. That was my first experience. And I said, this is like strange. I mean, as simple as changing the meal plan. You know, I don't eat breakfast. Can I do this? No. Can I change this class to this class? No. And then I go and I talk to somebody else and says, oh, I just did that. So I learned that you can ask for your rights, but there also comes a time where you have to demand it. And as I said, I always tell my kids that was the first lesson that I learned here. So I went back and demanded certain things politely, diplomatically, and I got him. So I said, okay, so this is how it works. Now, in life, as many of you know, and that also is directed to the youth, I always assume ignorance before I assume anything else. I can tell you, I've faced my life here, people that were accommodating, very understanding. And I also faced those that had an issue with my name, Muhammad. And I remember I insisted on people calling me Muhammad. I worked for corporate America, and there was just no compromise on that. And some people that tend to rub them the wrong way, and I've always looked past those and moved on with my life. I always if somebody wants to be educated about me and who I am and my faith, I will make all the time in the world for them. But if somebody's there to belittle me or to put me in a defensive mode, Islam is this and Islam is that, I'm not interested in dialoguing with somebody like that, because I promise you, you'll be wasting your time. And I've dealt with a lot of those. So when I came to Coppell, I came to in '93, and we, at the time, there were very few masajids in the area. So I remember we had to go all the way to Richardson. Irvin, we used to have a house that was rented, for those of you that are old like me, and then of course Carrollton, there was a place on 35, kind of a strip center that we rented the space there. So I made it a point that if I'm to make this home, it behooves me as a parent to make sure that my kids feel like they belong here. I may be immigrants, proud to be, but also my kids are not. They're born and raised here, and they should have the rights like everybody else. So we first tried Brighter Horizon. At the time, there was no multi-purpose hall for Richardson Mosque, INT, if you recall. It was a small house. So we used to literally travel, to take my my oldest kid, which is Tariq, there every day, and dealing with traffic and what have you. And it got to the point where it was just hard to do. And I sat down with myself and I said, it is nice to be able to put your children in an Islamic school, in an Islamic environment, to deal with likewise children like them. But living in isolation is not probably a good way to deal with it. People need to interact with us. They need to interact with my kids. They need to know that we pray 5 times a day, that we fast in Ramadan, that no, we don't suffer during Christmas. We have our own holidays. And I said, we have to interact with the outside world. I did a lot of reading on public schools, what you can and cannot do. And I learned that you cannot teach religion, but you can teach about religion. You can practice your faith as long as you're not forcing anybody, to sit there and have to participate, in whatever activity you're doing, be it prayer or what have you. So I educated myself. After that, when I was in Coppell here, because of the nature of my business, I became the president of the Coppell Chamber of Commerce, so I participated. I became a board member and then vice president and president. I sat on the economic development here in Coppell. At the time, there were many farms around here. This Sandy Lake Road was only 2 lanes with kind of trees everywhere. It's nowhere what it is, you see right now. So my first son, Tariq, goes to Lakeside Elementary. And I immediately go and meet with the principal. Her name was Miss Boyd. I remember that conversation. I said, okay, you know, Friday is our Friday prayer, and we have to take our children to teach them how to do that. And of course, what do you guess the first answer was going to be? No. Cannot do that. They're going to miss academically. And she gave me about 15 reasons why I could not take my son to Friday prayer. So I recalled what happened 11 years earlier in Santa Fe, New Mexico, when I said, so I sat down with her and I said, okay, are you telling me that my son cannot practice his faith? You know, and we went into a dialogue, and then she got to a point where she said, well, I really can't make that decision. Took it to the next level. Make a long story short, I ended up at the superintendent at the time. His name was Buddy Eccles. For those of you that play sports, the stadium is actually named after him. And I sat down with him, and we were able to secure the fact that every Friday, Tariq will be brought into the principal's office at 1 o'clock because we had to travel to Richardson, as I mentioned. And he's not coming back to school again. And really the way I looked at it, I said, okay, you know, we're going to work with the teachers. We're going to make sure that he doesn't miss anything. So at the end of the day, yes, we understand that our children go to school to learn. And we're both going to make sure that that does not suffer because of the fact that they're observant Muslims. One of the things, obviously, that first told me, and you're going to hear that a lot, well, you know, we have a couple other Muslim families here, and they never ask these questions. And my answer was very simple. Not everybody goes to church on Sunday. Doesn't mean that nobody can go to church. Same thing in our case. Somebody could be practicing. Somebody could be observant of certain things. It doesn't mean that nobody can do it. So as I said, that's for those young people, it's good to be on debate teams and to take philosophy, because you're able to take on a conversation like that. Because trust me, there are people out there that would try to dissuade you for simple things like, for whatever reasons. I don't want to get into their heads, but they're out there. So that became the rule in the school. I tried to actually gather, there was about a handful of Muslims. Coppell at the time was mainly, predominantly, majority, whatever you want to call it, Anglo-American. Okay, so on my street, I live on Spyglass, I was the only probably minority there. And you can count how many children in the school that were non-white. And again, I don't mean to kind of put people in categories, but that's a fact. We were involved in, my wife was involved in PTO, and we volunteered to chaperone, to participate in anything, because you need to be in school to see what's going on. So for us as parents, if we are to take our kids to public school, just sending them to school is not the answer. And I always say, even said about Islamic schools, because a lot of us think if I send them to Sunday school or I send them to Islamic school, my job is done. No, your job started. I can tell you that right now. So we participated and we were part of everything, in spite of many people at the time. And I'll give you an example. Christmas time came, and Tariq came home and he said, you know, in the music class today, they had us sing Christmas songs. And I, you know, had taught him that we don't celebrate Christmas. You know, he knew the stories of all the prophets, and Jesus to us is such, and so on and so forth. But we don't participate in that because we don't subscribe that, you know, he is the Son of God or God or whatever it is that other people may believe. So I went back to school. I can tell you, when I walked into school, it's like going to the mall. Decorations everywhere, and you know, the walls were covered, trees, you name it, lights flickering. I thought I'm literally in the mall. And I said, okay, how would I feel if I'm a Muslim child walking in and I don't participate, you know, celebrate that, and I feel like I'm an outsider? And literally there were people out there trying to do that. And I said, I'm not trying to badmouth anybody, I'm giving you facts. One story, actually, when my son came one day, also he said that a parent came to the classroom and she had candy during the holidays. She said, this candy is only for those that believe in Santa Claus. Well, we don't believe in Santa Claus. I always tell them God is the one that provides, not Santa Claus. So I freaked out. Okay, this is it. This is where I drew the line. So we went there and I said, okay, how do you feel? How would you feel? We talk about education, educating our kids. How would you, if you're a child 6, 7 years old, feel if you go into an environment like this and you feel like an outsider? And after that, a parent comes to the classroom and really make you feel like an outsider, like you don't belong. It went to the district. too. And I said, I have nothing against Christmas, because there was the conversation, well, Christmas is a secular holiday. I said, okay, it's Christmas, birth of Christ, secular holiday, fine. We have secular thing that we celebrate during Ramadan. You know, in my home country of Egypt, we have lanterns that kids play with, and we do a lot of, artistic, fun things for the kids while they're fasting to keep them occupied and so on have you throughout the day. I said, okay, we have secular things too. So we went to the district, and they ended up allowing us to put a display during the whole month of Ramadan. So we put actually lanterns. I managed to sneak in a prayer rug. I put a translated version of the Quran and all that. They left me alone. A week later, there was an article in the newspaper. Some parent actually went and said that Muhammad al-Mugi is trying to do away with Christmas. So Dallas Morning News called me, and I said, absolutely not. We just want to participate. We're always as Muslims accused of, you guys don't participate, you don't assimilate, you don't do this. So when we try to participate and assimilate, we're immediately told that we are here against Christmas. I have nothing against Christmas, but I want my kids to feel like they belong. So if somebody wants to celebrate their holiday, my kids and Jewish kids and Hanukkah and, Kwanzaa, whatever it is, everybody has a right to do that. Again, you're dealing with a situation where I was in the minority, and I don't exaggerate when I say not one single Muslim family wanted to kind of come in to talk to that. I know not everybody's comfortable being vocal like I am, but, they opted to stay out of it. That continued on until my kids graduated from high school. The only thing that changed is in high school, I had to give them a note every day, because during elementary and middle school, they take you to the principal's office, you sign them out, and there was a discussion there about an excused absent and unexcused absence. Friday prayer is considered as an excused absence, just like going to the dentist. They can't count you absent. There's also, I did some homework, and I found that in countries like Germany, where in certain sectors where you have a big Turkish, groups there, and they observe Friday prayer, it got to the point in Germany, out of all places on earth, and I tell you this to encourage you, where they literally had a Friday half a day in school. So they accommodate the Muslim kids to go to Friday prayer. Why? Because they could not afford to have mass exodus at 1 o'clock or at 12:30 of 1/3 or half of the school to go to prayer. So it is doable. I'm not here to kind of tell you it is doable. It has been done. There's nothing really magic about it. I was encouraged when I came here about a month ago or so, when we had a meeting and we had these wonderful high schoolers, and they told me there are about 200 Muslim kids in high school. That is very encouraging. The picture is always reversed, always in Coppell, and I sit also on a culture committee in the public library, which is now called Community Builders, and I'm going to plug in tomorrow, if you don't mind. Tomorrow from 2 to 4, we have a panel of a Muslim, a Jew, a Christian, and a Hindu. Sheikh Abdullah is representing us from 2 to 4 at Casbir Library. So we're doing a lot of programs, because I can tell you, and this is how it started, the city kind of caught up to the fact 2-3 years ago that the demographics of Coppell is changing very rapidly, which is very smart, because you can hide, or you can run, but you can hide, like they say. That's a fact. If you look on my streets, it's almost half and half now. So it's happening. Whether anybody likes it or not, that is a fact. So we came up with all these committees, and I sit down with the city a lot to talk about programs that we do to encourage participation. Why? Because the idea started where without mentioning the name of the church, a minister, priest, or what have you in a church actually went to the city and told them that our attendance is down. We're having a concern about what's going on in Coppell. It wasn't really that, well, if somebody has a concern, you need to figure out a way to address that. Okay. So things are changing. It is very encouraging. There was no MSA when my kids were growing up. So hats off and beer and whatever you want to do for the kids, for them to start that, because that is wonderful. Now our roles as parents, if I was have kids in high school, I would actually them, and that's why I was asking them today. What can we do? I know of many schools, good. I know of many schools where to avoid having all the kids to go out during Friday prayer, number one, we show all good intention by having Friday prayer for me when it is, time allows, when the clock allows us to do that. Obviously, there's a certain time of the year where it's not possible. So that said, we show good intentions. The school then can decide whether they want to allow all the kids to go to Friday prayer or those that want to go to Friday prayer, or provide them a space in the school to do that. I have been approached by many people actually on the board of trustees because we have a block vote here. So our voices have been heard. For the last election in particular, we made it a point that we vote in block here in Coppell. So we actually endorse certain candidates running for the city hall and running for the board of trustees on the school board. So they know we're here, okay? We pay taxes like everybody else. We obey the law like everybody else. We participate like everybody else. We're equal to everybody else. And, at the end of the day, we should not be treated any differently. So I think if anything comes out of today, and I know that's, hopefully that the intent is what can we do to help our kids feel proud and not feel like they don't belong, in their schools. Because, just like we provide them the healthy environment at home, it behooves us to provide them the healthy environment in their schools. Because believe it or not, they spend more time in schools than they do at home these days. So, that is our duties as parents there. And that's pretty much as far as history. I'll take questions if you want me, or it's up to you. Streets, and this is a true story. We had actually an African-American homeowner, and that was in the early 90s. And this is a true story. He was on the weekends doing the lawn in front of his house. So one of my neighbors, I'm sure good intentions, she approached him and said, "Excuse me, when you're done doing this lawn, I live at the house at the end of the street. Could you come and tell me how much you charge?" She didn't know that he lives there. Without using his own language, he told the lady, "I live in this D house. This is my home." But this is how the city used to be. This is the true story. Okay, so not long ago, that is the perception, that he didn't belong there, so he must be a landscaper. And the guy said, "Lady, I own the D house. This is my home." So, that's where, it's always good to look at how things were and how things are right now. And I always tell people I'm very optimistic about the future of us in this country, the future of Islam. I remember we used to travel even before I came to Dallas, Louisiana and New York. I've traveled a lot because of my business and lived in many places. We literally used to travel sometimes for hours to go do Friday prayer. Now, you go 10 minutes anywhere, you're bound to run into a place where you can do your prayers. So we don't give ourselves sometimes enough credit, but I can tell you, if you just look at where we were 20 years, 30 years ago and where we are now, we came a long way, baby, as they say. Okay? No offense intended.
And we'll take the questions at the end, inshallah. We're going to have a sister who might present, inshallah.
I'm not even going to try clipping this on. Assalamu alaikum. My name is Huma. I am actually fairly new to Coppell ISD. We've been living in this area for a while, but we did Islamic school, we did homeschool, and a good friend of mine encouraged me to try the Coppell schools. Alhamdulillah, being a teacher there and all, hint, hint. And alhamdulillah, I've had a great experience there. But when I got there, I realized there's a lot of Muslim families in the Coppell ISD, and considering how many of us there are, we haven't really made that much inroads in creating an infrastructure. There's amazing individual efforts that have been going on. However, individual efforts equal temporary change. When we make change as a community, then that equals permanent change. So, and that's kind of the direction where we have to go now. Like Brother Muhammad was saying, my parents were also immigrants when they came here. And they came here thinking, we're going to get some money and then we're going to move back. So they didn't really set down the roots. Times have changed. All of you that are living here now are living here and you consider this your home. So now if we can unite ourselves together and make some permanent changes, these are the changes that will change for the next generations of children to come, and it can be built on even more. So that's our effort over here that we'd like to advocate for. All of you parents are here because you are your children's advocate, and you really are the best advocate for your children. But if we start going to the ISD or to the principals and start asking for changes and we're not all united on what we're asking for, then not everybody, the changes, they're gonna go back, like Brother Muhammad said, they're gonna say, well, you know, the parents aren't sending their kids to pray. Or, you know, even though we're providing on-premises Jama, there's still parents pulling out their kids to take them for Jama. So we all kind of have to be agreed on what changes we want to make in our schools. What are the things that are important that we want to advocate for? So when we had our meeting about a month ago, Brother Muhammad recommended, instead of going up to the superintendent, which as many of you have probably met, he's very open to ideas. They've been sending out surveys and asking the parents to fill out the surveys. And I believe somebody from the school board had reached out to Brother Muhammad to let him know that our community is the only community that didn't fill out the survey. So So I did post the survey on the WhatsApp groups a number of times and on other WhatsApp groups. So if you were one of those people who didn't fill out that survey, I believe it's still open till the end of the month. They extended it. We'll post it again. Please fill out the survey. They don't even know we are a community because we don't speak up. We're the silent community. So we can't expect them to accommodate our children and provide salah spaces and PE accommodations and all of those things if we're not the ones that are speaking up. So we have got to support the endeavors that go forward by being one community. We have to actively communicate with each other. So if there's a change that's happened at one school, please tell Sheikh Odoro, tell Brother Muhammad, tell me, so that we can try the same thing that you're doing at one school at the other schools and join the WhatsApp groups. I know it's really annoying, but what we're gonna do is we're gonna hand around a sheet. The girls have one and the boys have one. Brother Adil has one, and we're gonna hand it around a sheet. This is what I'm gonna ask you to do. Put down your name, put down all the schools you're affiliated with, and when you get to the box that says, can we add you to the WhatsApp group, click yes, okay? And I would encourage all the existing WhatsApp groups to stop being mothers only. They have to be parents because we are one unit, right? We have to work together and we have to increase our communication. Okay, the MSAs that you heard presenting earlier, there should be the pride and joy of this community, because these kids are standing up for all the Muslim students in their schools and trying to advocate for their rights. So that's the next thing as parents, as in community, I think we really need to be doing. The Islamic schools, actually some of them support their MIS teams. I'll give you an example. An Austin Peace Academy, you know who their coach is? The principal. You know where all the funding comes from? The school. They provide busing, they provide accommodation, they provide meals, they provide everything. They're in an Islamic environment day in and day out. Our children aren't. And when they ask for 3 days to be in a Muslim environment, we can't pull together the funding for that. So that's got to change. Public schools, free. We can offer them some Islamic environment. So when they ask you for funding, please don't fail them. So there's some initiatives that happen in the ISD. I wanted to let you know of them as well so that you can support them or participate in them, and also understand why we need to actually get ourselves together as a team. As Brother Muhammad mentioned right now, and Sheikh Adura has been talking about, Jama is a big concern. I have 5 daughters, so it was on the back burner for me, but I do understand the need, and I would like my daughters to participate. I grew up in a Canadian high school. We had Juma at school. I just took it for granted. We always had Salah at school. We had a designated room, and we had tons of Huffaz, which Dallas is not short of Huffaz, and they would do their Jummah, and we just used to tell the teacher, and the teacher would be like, okay, we'd go and pray Jummah, and we'd come back. So, and this is a long time ago, 90s I'm talking about. So for us to be now 20 years, 30 years later, and we don't have that here, it's totally doable. We can totally do it. It's just a matter of getting ourselves together. But here's a problem I'll put for you. If we get Jummah on premises for certain months, and then parents are still pulling out their kids to take them out for Jummah, the ISD is going to say, this is not a solution. So we have to be on the same page, inshallah. And we will work with Sheikh Odoro, inshallah, on creating a schedule so we can show to the school, look, we don't want to pull the kids out of school if we don't have to. But, you know, these are the days where they can leave school and still get to Jummah. These are the days that they don't need to have it on premises. It's only when we really, really need to have it on premises. There's different lunch hours. If the principal recommends that we tell our Muslim students to take the later 2 lunch hours, and that's something we work with the counselors on, that all Muslim students should be given the lunch hours, the second or the there's 3 lunch hours in high school, I believe. So the second or the third lunch hour, whichever one accommodates Salah. So it's not even like they're missing school. Sister Abir, who is very active in opening up the WhatsApp groups, and if you need to talk to her about that, inshallah, she's here, sent me an article recently about how Donald Trump had met with students of Christian, Jewish, and Muslim faith just yesterday, I believe it was. And he had told them that the public school cannot stop them from praying on premises. 2 years ago, one of the high schools in Texas had a group of Christian students who were praying for one of their fellow students in the cafeteria. They were holding hands and making a prayer. And the administration told them, you can't do that. So they filed a lawsuit, and it was, of course, they were given that right. So it's not like this is not our right to pray in school. We do have that right. I wanted to, so before I finish that, there's also Eid awareness and celebration arrangements. All of the schools are open to that. My daughter's elementary school had Diwali celebrations, like the whole day Diwali celebrations. So, and the teacher told us that, you know, hey, when Eid comes around, can you guys do something like this too? But I don't even know who to reach out to help me with this. So if I knew what other parents were in that school, we could put a team together. Or if they're not even at my school, we could work together for all the elementary schools and put together something, a package that we could go and do an arts and crafts and a presentation that we do at all the Coppell ISD schools. There's also last year, and I believe the year before that, 2 years in a row, we provided gifts to all the high school teachers through the MSA. So that's something, and some of the elementary schools had also done it. Sister Abir had organized it at one of the schools as well. So that's also something that a lot of the Muslim parents are doing. If you'd like to participate in that or lead that initiative, that's something that you can also do. And then if it comes down to it where you see that there is a training problem at one of your schools and you've addressed it with the teacher and they haven't done something about it, then if we are united, perhaps we can talk to the ISD about having sensitivity training, because we have an excellent instructor on premises right here. So inshallah, you know, these are things that we can look forward to and doing together. I do want to point out a few people that are in the audience today, and perhaps they can also let us take 1 or 2 minutes just to talk about their experience of Salah. My personal experience is that in high school, my daughter has never had any problem praying Salah. the kids are here, and you can always approach them. If your child is about to join high school, where do you pray? But in general, they have a room in the library, I believe it's called the collaboration room, and the librarian knows if you just walk in and say, which is the room that I can pray in, and she'll just point you to that room. Otherwise, a lot of these kids they know which hallways are there that they can sneak into, pray, and come back if they need to in the middle of in the middle of classes. My twin daughters go to West Middle School, and the guidance counselors have told them, please come and pray in my office. And my daughter told me she used to leave the guidance counselor every time she came and pray, and finally she told her, listen, please don't do that. Just stay here. It doesn't bother me. And she had told some of her friends as well to come and pray in that room, and the friends told them, well, our parents are not okay with it. Our parents told us, don't do that. So these are things that we've got to change as parents as well. Also at West, we have Sister Fatima Amatullah, who's grade 8. What grade